I got my ears pierced. I feel so awkward being so excited for something so mundane to so many. It's funny to see the same look in so many friends' faces and to finally hear someone, oh, that's nice. I mean, I got mine done when I was like 6 years old at Claire's, but good for you. And I get it. Actually, I was about 8 when my little sister, who was about 6, got hers done at a Claire's in the mall. I remember because I stood outside the glass exterior with my father. It was far too crowded, so he and I stayed outside. We watched in awe as the teen employee fumbled with the ear and the piercing gun held firmly in her hand. I saw the posters of close-up ears with such cool earrings. I asked my dad if I could get mine pierced too. He looked at me solemnly and said, please, don't do that until I'm dead. My dad never asked much from me. And I can say now, I kept my word. That moment doesn't properly convey all that my father was. He was my hero. He was one of the best, most flawed people I had the honor of knowing. He was a simple man, born in Texas, one of the youngest of 14 siblings. He started working at 6. No piercings for him at that age. He had to support his family. And from then until his passing, he held many, many jobs. He was drafted into the army, served his country proudly, did unspeakable and soul-breaking things, came back, had to reassemble himself from the atrocities of war, got married, had 2 children, got divorced, remarried, had 3 more children, held so many jobs during that time. I don't know what happened to his first family, but I know my sisters each had children, and he became the best grandfather in the world. A grandfather who gave countless horsey rides, told the best bedtime stories, never from some book or someone else. Oh, no. Ever since my sisters and I were growing up, we would tell him what we wanted the story to be about, and he'd craft it out of thin air. He was a savant when it came to telling a story. When I was growing up, he worked primarily as a field rep for a company that sold seating solutions to movie theaters, colleges, stadiums, houses of worship. He would travel the country in a van. It also forced us to move to Michigan as a family. He'd be gone for up to 9 to 10 months of the year. For many years, I could more easily hear to recognize my dad than to see to recognize my dad. He had a very peculiar cadence to his voice. I've never met another person in this world with an accent and vocal pattern like his. Part Texan, part Southern, part Valle, and from the Rio Grande Valley, part CB trucker. Hey. The Valley's here. If I was ever in a crowded place like a stadium or a church, I could hear him instantly and find him. I never had a problem finding him, though, because almost without fail, anytime he saw me after not seeing me for a stretch of time, he'd see me like it was the first time, and he'd say, Mijo! It's technically slang, a contraction of the words mi and hijo, my son. Without fail, he'd say it every time. He'd sing it. It was always filled with such love, such joy, such tenderness, and such reassurance. Mijo! As I grew up, he spent so much time on the road and away from me, we both came to realize we were very different people. But we loved each other regardless. It was a mixed blessing for sure. He'd always hoped I'd play football, develop his love of engineering, and become a gearhead like him, that I'd marry early and give him grandchildren. I unfortunately never met his expectations. I loathed sports. I clung to the arts, and procreating was not in my future. But he loved me and learned to love what I loved. He loved music and was an excellent singer himself. So we bonded with that and many other things, movies, telling stories. Soon, he was supporting my theatrical career, driving me to auditions and asking me to sing for him. We'd sing together. When I got older, I traveled with him. We laughed. We became friends. Time in life eventually caused me to step out on my own. By chance, the last day I was a resident of Michigan, the last and only person I saw was my father. He helped me load up my pickup truck. He cried silently. He hugged me. And he just kept repeating, Mijo, Mijo. Coming up on 3 years ago now, the cancer that had been in remission developed in his lungs. He never smoked. He didn't drink. Turns out it was a residual gift from his service in the Army, Agent Orange. His health had declined quickly. He called me near the end, and upon hearing his voice, I've never had certainty hit me so hard in my life. A dear friend, Becca, helped me fly from Houston to Michigan. I arrived late on Saturday evening on October 28th. My mother led me into his room, but he was deep asleep. Pain, morphine, exhaustion. The next day I arrived in the morning. My family all had obligations to meet, so it was just he and I on Sunday. Absolutely beautiful day. He slept. I was informed that he may have a moment or so of being awake, but also he may not. I sat by the bed, held his hand, and I told stories. I sang his favorite songs. I was certain that at any moment he'd come to and tell me an even better story. I was certain that at any moment he'd rouse and start singing with me, like the countless times we had sung together. I asked to be remembered when we went to Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Long Island, New Jersey, Atlanta, the Carolinas. I sang the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Paul Williams, church hymns. He slept on. For hours, I talked and sang as he slept, and then I cried. I realized there was no more stories to tell, no magic song to sing, and like his favorite songs in the world by the Rolling Stones, I sit and watch as tears go by. I just held his hand and listened to him breathe. Then he sighed deeply, opened his eyes, and he saw me. There was a brief moment of confusion, but after a moment, his eyes focused on mine. His tired face split into a huge smile. His voice, too dry, too weak to speak, but his mouth moved, and in the faintest voice he said, Mijo. He tried to exclaim like the million times he had before, but he couldn't. But to me, he did. He squeezed my hand, he took a deep breath, then closed his eyes and fell back to sleep. He slept on until the next morning, and then he passed away. time after that was more than difficult. I was in pain. I was changed. I didn't know what to be anymore. But after living, telling stories, singing songs, remembering that I still remain, I'm in a better place. I waited a little over 2 years, and then finally, I got my ears pierced. I really wanted to honor the request that he'd made of me. I couldn't give him a grandchild, but he got his grandchildren. I couldn't marry and have a wife, but I have a spouse. I couldn't be a football player or a gearhead, but I could be me. And that's enough. Because when all was said and done, we had our complicated and wonderful time together. And no matter how I change or don't change, whether my ears are pierced or not, I know that should we see each other again in another time and space, I'll still be able to hear him call me, Mijo!